according to what's needed. Sometimes it's not HERU standing there. Sometimes it's SETH, which means total destruction coming. Or sometimes it's THOT, which means that we need to figure this out in a more diplomatic or in a wiser manner, you know. And depending on the deity being called forth, that determines what is needed. When all of them are needed together in one, they bring in THOT. Because you better believe that somewhere in this mix, it's probably not on this page, but THOT is somewhere lurking around this coronation, because he's at every one of them. And this is what it looked like when you before the Galactic Council. I'm kind of amazed to find this picture that looked like it, because to try to explain it to somebody, then somebody else put it in image form where you can actually see what it looked like to be before the council of elders, 72 elders, you know. It's also the coronation ceremony. And so when all these things converge, you know how they know. Well, David Koresh ain't Jesus. How they know? Because he was a guy. The real Christ is a woman named Isis. The Son of Man is the Redeemer, the Destroyer. In the Revelation, they also call him Apollyon. They put him on the white horse to go about conquering and setting stuff back in order before the New Jerusalem ever arrives. Now, he already crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords before the New Jerusalem arrived, but it ain't official until the New Jerusalem bring the bride so she can properly place his crown on his head of victory. It all tell you in the book. So they got us thinking that this is a book to teach you some religion. No, this is a blueprint for anybody who want to attain Christ to follow. And that's why they start coming up with the Bible being an acronym, basic instructions before leaving earth, which is the biggest crock of malarkey. But it kind of fit in a regard when it say seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, all these things be added to you, the kingdom of heaven being within. So then you see in there where they're telling you about the path to inner vision, inner enlightenment, and it's saying that when the two eyes become one, then thy whole body is filled with light. They're talking about opening your third eye. But then the church tell you that's evil, to raise your kundalini, open your third eye and resurrect your mind, body, and soul so that you can be all that you can be, because they've been taught that by the Catholic Church at the onset. If you don't know where the devil tripped you at, you don't know where he got you tied down. So I'm taking you back. I'm telling you flat out, without just what I'm telling you what they know. And when you know what they know, you know where they deceived you at. They know that any man come about talking about he Christ, land. But the one that tell you that the Christ is a woman, the queen of heaven and earth, and that she gonna come back and crown her son, that's when they gonna tell you he know what he talking about. So when y'all share this, make sure y'all share with y'all preachers so they can say something crazy so I can come in and show them what I'm talking about. All of it right here in the book, ain't none of it hidden. From the judgment to the condemnation to the punishment to the redemption, it's all in there. But it's just a blueprint to follow. It's an extract from the original. It's a Reader's Digest version of an original hieroglyphic text. Now, why would you believe or read or accept hieroglyphics? Go to the book of Daniel, and you'll find that he's reading the writing on the wall. And wherever you find ancient writing on the wall, it's hieroglyphics. It's hieroglyphics. So he was reading hieroglyphics. So when he was reading the hieroglyphics, telling Nebuchadnezzar what it said, that means that it was something about it. What do the natives call hieroglyphics? Medu Neter, which means the writing of God. So if God write on walls in Daniel, why wouldn't he be writing on walls in Egypt or in southern Mexico or in China or in India, where we find ancient writings on all walls around the world? The writing of God, the Medu Neter, is all over the world. Before your script writing, handwriting, and all that, pictographic writing is on the walls. You can't mistake it. It was there first. So they can't tell you that the devil went back in time to undermine the Bible when you can trace the Bible right back to what they say the devil wrote. That don't make no sense. So I'm going to see if we got any questions in here before I keep going, because I don't even know really how far or how deep I'm going to go into this topic today. Okay. All right, now, so when you're looking at unraveling the mysteries, you have to know how to crack their codes. So you can't be indoctrinated. All of these priests is kept in these temples, living that lifestyle for a reason. Because if that energy get loose and you ain't properly trained, you're gonna hurt something. You know, so only certain people are allowed to bring certain information to the forefront. So now you know that the Christ is a woman, Isis to be specific, in that the Redeemer, the Apollyon, is her son that would have to be born of a human on earth, because he had to live the life of a regular person around regular people, so he can know how they live, how they feel. He can feel they hurt, feel they pain. You know, you can't fix nothing if you don't know what's broke. So then from there, the next thing you're going to be looking for is the opposition. The opposition at this point is them false flag shooting, so you prepare for that. The remedy is don't, people that look like me, don't entertain events in mass public gatherings until the storm blow over. You ain't got to be isolated forever, just till the storm blow over. Because they finna light these malls and events. They finna light them up. False flag attacks. It's coming. It's written. They already said they was going to do it. Rex 84. Look it up. Look up Operation Cable Cutter or Cable Splicer in the same document, and then you can understand the wall better. The wall will make more sense to you at that point, and then you'll know what's really taking place in politics. The wall was just a signal to the brotherhood. Didn't nobody ever have no intentions of building no Great Wall of China across Mexico, because it's going to get towed down anyway as soon as I get where I need to be. We're going to be doing none of them old walls in Mexico. All you had to do is that then people had their resources. Mexico has the same amount of oil as Saudi Arabia, but it's restricted in trading on the open market. They only can trade so much, and then the people of the land never see any other benefit or the resource from the oil that's being sold. So why you think they coming up here? Because we stealing their oil. Since y'all want to be all we about it, all us, they coming in our country. You know, they illegally coming in our country. So let's really look at what it is. Why they come over here? Why they don't want to stay there? Because American enterprise, under the NAFTA agreement and before under the treaty settlement of the Mexican-American War, which cost Mexico, California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and Nevada in treaty agreement and recessions. So they really illegally impeding upon the treaty agreement of the a Mexican-American War, as they would quarantine the area from Mexicans from coming up on their own land and trying to reclaim it. This was the concern. It ain't got nothing to do with immigration. They know that by birthright, you can't permanently keep them off their land, but through treaty arrangement, you can keep them off their land for a specified period of time. And now that the contract is over as of July 4th of this year, they scrambling trying to figure out how to hold the border idea in place against the people who not really trespassing on their own property anymore. So they wanted to build an artificial wall, but the wall was misdirection all of the time, and it was put in the documents that was written by Oliver North, because see, the plan originally was to slaughter the niggas and make them run to Mexico, block them off at the border. That's what Cable Splicer was about the mass extinction of the African American and the building of walls to prevent them from an exodus at the Mexican border. When you analyze the document, that's what Oliver North and them was trying to do. Now, the Rex 84 came out, the lid was blew off of it at the Iran-Contra affair. Now, I'm going to point out a couple more things in this Bible so y'all know the times. Now, in there, they talk about the unleashing of the great Leviathan. There was a military general gave a C-SPAN speech 20-some years ago in which he divulged the name of a massive American military campaign called the Leviathan, and where they would establish a series of military bases around the world in serpentine fashion. And this is called the Leviathan Force. And that is an American creation in what they call the military industrial complex. That's where this is put together at, the Leviathan Force. Now remember, in the last days, you were supposed to expect the Leviathan. Well, Leviathan is here. It's the American military contingent that wraps the world in serpentine fashion, according to America's general. It can be looked up on Wikipedia. It's not hard to find. All this stuff is public information. It's not a secret. So what else in there? When they talk about the plagues, they talk about false Jews, Revelations 2:9-10, 3:9-10, where they talk about the works and the tribulation of those who claim to be Jews and are not, but they lying. They're a synagogue of Satan. Well, when you say that, people tend to call you an anti-Semite. I don't have no problem with that if I could find out what an anti-Semite was. But in order to say what an anti-Semite is, you've had to first tell me what's a Semite. You know, what's a Semite? You can't call me an anti-Semite till you first define to me what a Semite is. Because wait a minute, if you're a Jew, what that got to do with being a Semite? But if you're a Semite, what that got to do with being a Jew? And if you're a Jew or a Semite, what that got to do with you being an Ashkenazi or a Sephardi or a Khazar? And if you're an Ashkenazi, a Sephardi, or a Khazar, what that got to do with the tribe of Judah or the tribe of Dan? I'm just curious. This is not making no sense to me, so I'm just trying to figure it out. It said in the book they was the synagogue of Satan. So we know that Satan would have to have a contingent that claim to be Jews. Well, the only way this could be true, they would have to have a discoverable, because you got to have the right to discover it, plot to take over the world. Meaning that they had to put down the plan to take over the world, and then they had to give us the opportunity to discover that they was on a mission of world conquest. Did this happen? Yep. Protocols of the wise men of Zion. It absolutely happened. Synagogue of Satan. Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. Now, when you bring it up, if you bring that book up, they call you an anti-Semite. Think about that. If you bring up the protocols, they call you anti-Semite. But there's nothing anti-Semitic in the book, so to speak. But how you can use techniques derived from the Babylonian Talmud and Mishnah to use world conquest, to take over the world by taking over key points of power. Now, that would probably be easy to say that there was inflammatory and rhetoric used to defame and disgrace the so-called Jews of Israel. So in order to determine if it's really an inflammatory rhetoric or if this is really the synagogue of Satan, you piece by piece break this book down. It said that they would take over the entertainment industry and media. They run entertainment and media. They said that they will educate the Goyim. School is a Yiddish word, which comes from the Hebrew word, which means Sheol, which means the underworld, or as we would say in English, hell. And they run that because that's their word. They created it, and they created the four-wall, slow down your thinking method. They got that one under locks. It said they will control men of power by threats of disgrace and loss of power by degradation of their name. That sounds like Bill Cosby to me. R. Kelly, Cannon, Dr. York. Because what do they do? How do they do it? What mechanism would they use to do this? And they would use one of their organizations. So all you got to do is look in the FBI file, and if you see 3 letters in this order, JDL, you know that the Jews was involved in it somewhere. The ones that wrote the protocol, them Jews, that really not a Jew, because what the fuck is a Jew? I don't know. So they tell us about the 12 tribes of Israel. And everybody keeps saying we Hebrews and we from the tribes of Israel and all that. You don't even know what you're talking about. The 12 tribes of Israel. First of all, what is the word Israel? It's an acronym for Isis, Ra, and El. Or Isis is God. Is basically what it says. Israel. Isis, Ra-El. Isis is the god El. Is what it's saying. Israel. So when they say the tribes of Isis, it's talking about women. It's talking about 12 different priestesses groups. We know them as the Yoni priestess, the Kali priestess, and a couple more. I'm not going to get into them because we're going to get the rights mixed up. I know all of them. These are all priestesses. In each one of okay, right here in the Moor Inca that they call America, a Moor Inca, a Moor not to be misconstrued with Moors as in M-O-O-R-S, it's A-M-U-U-R, which is an ancient word. But the Moor, a Moor Inca here was a land divided into 12 tribal territories where you had 12 nations that confederates. They confederated across the land in order to live in peace and harmony and share the land in peace and justice among all of the other nations, so that no nation would undermine the rights, privileges, and the freedom to roam the land of the other nations. Nations didn't go to war as depicted in our books. Our wars consisted of breakdance contests basically back then, or hunting contests, sporting events. That's what we use to resolve conflict instead of bloody warfare that caused evil forces to descend down into those low vibrations and then influence the minds of people into even more wicked pursuit. So these people have a blueprint for taking over the world. They say they're not using it, but everything in their blueprint say they're using it. Their blueprint is called the protocol.